even though your theoretical framework or the theory that you're coming out from with is not very solid, right? Because we know that throughout we have 3 more years to go, and definitely this student will learn 3 more years, right? So it depends on your supervisor somehow. Some of the supervisors are very strict. They want you to really understand things from the beginning. That's how it will direct you to finish the study very quickly. All right, so it depends. The research methodology, this is very important one. Why it is very important? Because it will tell how you want to answer the research question and how you want to achieve the objective. All right. So I think doing a research proposal, right? Doing a research proposal is like you want to do a project, right? Definitely, this is a project, PhD project, right? You want to do a project, and then you will have an objective first of all, and then you should have a motivation why you want to do the project, and then the research methodology will tell you how to do that, right? For example, you might go and do the questionnaire survey. That's one method. Or you might just collect the secondary data from the stock exchange market, right? Stock exchange, you just get some database, because I'm not sure about UMT, because I'm not sure what database that UMT provide. When I did my study last time, I mean, if you ask the lecturers, most of them get database from elsewhere, right? So it depends lah whether you can get the feasibility of the study is very important. That if you say something, for example, you want to do this and that, you have to tell the committee, the team, where you want to get the data and how to you want to get the data. For example, last time I just have a PhD student graduated, now is doctor already, alhamdulillah, and then he is from Jordan. What he wanted to do was very risky. He wanted to interview the ministers, right? You imagine the ministers, and then he is from Jordan. He wanted to interview ministers, and he said 14 ministries he wanted to interview. I was like, oh my god, how you are going to do this? Of course, it is interesting because nobody have interviewed the ministers before, right? And then this is going to be interesting. And then, I mean, the first time when he said that, I was like, I was the first supervisor, and the second and the third supervisor did not really, agree with me because I was a little bit younger than those two. So I was like, no, we can do this. This is going to be interesting. All right. And then, alhamdulillah, it went well. Why it was possible? Because he works in the finance ministry, right? He himself is the member of parliament in the Jordan. So that's why it is possible. And then we asked him to come up with some of the, letter on the agreement, and in terms of the ethics, we have to fulfill the ethics first. That we fulfill that, and then we say that, okay, everything is just for the purpose of the doing PhD. So everything is fine. Now he is promoted. All right. That's about the research methodology. As I said, you have to show that you you can do that research, right? That it is feasible to be completed. All right. And then lastly, you have to show your plan of work and time schedule, right? Of when and then what time, how long you're going to finish this. And you have to show that you can do that. For example, now it's COVID time, right? You are from your country, right? And then everyone is at home, and you have to really show the plan of work and time schedule to your supervisors. Why? This is very important because every semester, your supervisor need to evaluate you, right? And then they have to show to you that they can, you are able to complete on time, and where is your whether you can do it or not, the research. I'm not sure whether I talk too much if I have time. And then lastly, references and bibliography, right? And you have to put using the star, using the appropriate, what do we call a star, APA. Let me go to the chat room. Kindly, could you tell us more about how to find the gap? GAP, it should be GAP. Very important with lots of thanks. Yeah, how to find the gap. How to find the gap is, first of all, you do lots of reading. That's the only way of how to find the research gap. You have to do lots of reading. First of all, you come up with the idea. You come up with things that you want to ask. And then you speak to your lecturer. That means you speak to your supervisor. Definitely your supervisor at this stage of the research proposal, your supervisor knows more about you, about the research that you want to do. Like in my case, if I'm not in the area of the students that, for example, if students propose to me that he or she wanted to be my student, and then that's not my area, I will definitely reject the student, not because the student is not qualified, because it is not my area. And then I'm worried that I cannot help the students graduate, right? I wanted when the students sign up and then they wanted to do PhD or masters with me, I wanted them to finish the study, right? And then that is my what do we call my pleasure, if I can see students graduate on time, or at least graduated. Of course, there are lots of process. Sometimes I saw students crying and all those. But in answering your question just now, how to find the research gap, first of all, you come up with research question, right? You come up with what you want to ask. And then secondly, you go and read. You read lots of papers to answer the research that you want to do first. First of all, you have a question, right? In order to answer the question, you go and check the reading, right? You go and read. And then you tick. If the question that you want to ask has been answered before, then you tick one answer. Then you ask again another question. And then you find again, read again, and then it was answered, tick. Until you ask something that has not yet been answered, and say, bingo, this is not yet been answered. And then you started to check with your supervisors, right? You say you have read, for example, 20 articles, and then you say, I have read 20 articles and I know that this has not been done yet. And then you started to say to your lecturer, to your supervisor, and supervisor say, oh, have you read this paper? Have you read that paper or not yet? Then you have to go back and read again. All right. So that's the process. I'm sure there is no magic thing. All right. Another question, how, where is the question just now? I saw a question just now. I do not know whether I saw a question. There we go. I saw a question. May I know how to construct the theoretical framework? What is the difference between theoretical framework? Oh, this one, there will be a topic on this. You have to go and then sign up to the class, right? I may take long times to explain this, and then it really depends on your, what do we call, your discipline, right? It is different, the theory and the conceptual framework, it is different somehow, the things that you want to study. I think I may need to take times to explain that. I think first of all, for Amira just now who asked me a question, you have to go and read first and then discuss with your lecturer. And I think tomorrow or today there will be another session talking about that. All right. Where to find the materials? Where to find the materials? Lots of materials. In the, what do we call, in online. Just click. Like this morning, what I did was that I clicked in the internet and I put everything that I can put. There are lots of huge search engine, can be like 100,000 of the materials, right? Just go to whatever university. I got from the Yorkshire University, UK. I got from the Birmingham, UK University. I also even got from the what do we call postgrad UMT. There is also a requirement, and there is also a book in the bookstore of UMT. There was one lecturer, what do we call, publishing a book on how to write a research proposal on education. All right, but it is more or less the same. I think if you go to the library at your country, right? I do not know whether it's open because of the COVID. You can find lots. All right, this one I got from the scripts. I like the pictures, so that's why I put it here. It looks so colorful and so beautiful. All right. Have a language expert. Oh, this is the very important things. You know, in fact, if you go and Google from the internet, even there are template, right? Template from doing the writing, right? There are lots of online templates for what do we call writing. You can Google them. I have subscribed to one of the template. I have not yet used it because, you know, when I did my PhD last time, it was not 2 days, right? It is so much easier today to complete the study. I think so. It's just a matter of, because it's too much to read, and then you have to read. All right. I think there's still students asking about the gap, right? Gap based on recommendation or not? Maybe the gap based on the recommendation or not? Yeah. You can read the gap. One of the idea of to get the research gap, just by looking at the articles, right? Reading the articles, you read at the future research. That will be normally at the conclusion part of the articles, and then you read them. There it stated future research, and you read that part. Or you also can read the thesis of any thesis, right? Of course, thesis is quite thick, right? So because it is so thick, it is good to read the research articles, right? Because articles at least 30 pages is better than 300 pages. But anyway, sometimes you have to read them if the thesis is so good for you. And when you read them, there will be as I said, at the conclusion part, there will be recommendation for the future research, and read that. That will be the gap. All right. So done on that. Oh yeah, this one is quite important too. You go and then Google from the internet, like what I am doing now. Let me just like show to you what I have. I just do Googling. Hang on. How to write a research proposal, right? I think you are looking at my, let me see if you are looking here. Sorry. Okay. Let me just take this one first. I'm sharing my screen. You're looking here, right? Okay, now. Here, this is what I did this morning. I just want to check how many are there. There are lots in how to write a research proposal. What are the quality? This is the books that UNT come out with, right? There are many other things you can go through. And then, for example, you go and then Google in the internet. You just like good research proposal. Just click that, and then it comes out with you lots of things like quality, what comprise of quality, and etc. All right. So you can do this morning. You can do that. For example, even now you can also do that. All right. And then now we are here. This one I just also Google from the internet, and then I do some reading. I will share with you what books that I really love to read, right? When I did my PhD, or I even recommend to my students of doing this. All right. This one I think is not very latest. This is July 2014. Essential ingredients of good research proposal in social science, right? These authors mentioned that, okay, just to make sure that you are looking at my screen. All right. This author mentioned that good research proposals should demonstrate knowledge and understanding of what research is all about. right? And it's challenging nature. So you have to show your knowledge. Now, how do you want to demonstrate your knowledge? It is based on your reading, right? It is, as I said to you just now, how to answer or how to find a gap. There is no other answers than reading, right? That's the only way. Read and read and read, right? I mean, if you're Muslim, the first verses of the Quran is being to Prophet Muhammad is Iqra, right? Is read. All right. Anyway, forget about that. Display and enlarge comprehension of research gap. I mentioned to you just now. It shows to you that you have the research gap that you want to fulfill, and it's very important, right? This workshop is certified for all majors. Oh, okay, yeah. Don't worry. You mean science students are also here? Um, yeah. Oh, okay. Never mind. But my topic that they give to me is the research proposal in accounting, marketing, and economics. So I have to answer the questions. Otherwise, I not answer the question, right? There will be no mark for not answering the question. I'm just kidding. Anyway, yes, this is the topic that I was given. I have to explain to you the research proposal in accounting, marketing, economics. But I really appreciate the fact that all of you coming from a very different majors here. You can ask me questions if you want to ask. But basically they are the same, right? I can tell you they are the same. You just Google, there are not much different. However, the writing style, I will go later. It's a little bit different because my partner is doing a PhD in science, and then I look at the way he writes and the way the supervisors, what do we call, the supervisors, his supervisors checking, right? I can see that there are lots of difference in terms of style only different. In terms of the context, relevance, or all the things, the previous slides that I have mentioned to you, I tell you there is no difference at all. We are still finding the gaps, right? For example, if you're doing research and experiment, if you are doing what do we call experiment, you are doing a scientific works, lab experiments and all those, definitely you have to do something which has not yet been answered before. Otherwise, why doing it, right? This is the topic that I was given, as I shared to you. However, in terms of the relevance, context, you have to show that you are relevant. How to show relevance? Relevance, for example, if you're talking about it, I think it should be relevance not only in terms of the academic, but also in terms of how do I say that? In terms of you as yourself, right? Or in terms of the academic, definitely it should be relevant. For example, if you are in Malaysia, right? So what is the relevance issues in Malaysia? They are talking about, for example, climate change, right? They are talking still relevance are halal hub. Still relevance are, for example, food security issues, right? For example, if you are coming from the computer science and then you are solving issues in the food security, you are very relevant. Relevance to what? To the market, right? And then you will be sought after. Relevance not only to the market, but also to your future career. That is very important. I always emphasize this for my students, especially. The first question when he said, or he or she said that she want to do a PhD or masters with me, I will ask why you want to do that, and then why you want to enroll. I like to ask a very fundamental question. Why? Because the moment when the student, like like in depressed or something, starting having a problem, so I started to give them back the reasons of why they are here, right? So the very first few days I said, why you are here? And then they tell me the answers. I use the same answers when they are down or for some reason get frustrated or whatsoever. Oh, it's the same answer. That's why you are here, I say. So when they remember, sometimes it can be reminded. The supervisors play a very important roles in completing your PhD. Relevance must be relevance in your future career. As I said just now, like my student who just graduated, he works in the minister department. All right. So I say, why you want to do this? Of course, in order to, he come out with the new policies, and then he definitely wanted to get promoted. And then I say, yes, go for it, right? And then we have to make sure that also relevant to Malaysia, right? And especially to the international students. Contextual, that means it based on the context. For example, based on the context. For example, if you are from the science discipline, right? Or if you are from the economics, you have to come out from your majors or from your discipline. Timely, as I said, must be timely. Why? Because you are answering, right? You are answering the question which are important to be answered at that time. For example, if you are talking about today, right, in today's area, you are talking about digital technology. You're talking about post-COVID. If you're coming from the social science, talking about post-COVID impact. If you're from the computer science, you're talking about digital technology. Even if you're a marketing student, economic student, you talk about digital technologies. This is a very timely situation that bring us closer. You are from, for example, Pakistan. You're from Jordan, from all your countries, Indonesia. Now you can speak to me, right? I am in Malaysia. And then why this is possible? Because because of the technology and how it can be implemented in your area, for example, in business, and how it changed, right? How the situation changes the business process. It is also very timely. Significant, definitely it must be significant. Otherwise, your lecturer or your supervisor will reject that idea because it is not significant, right? For example, if you want to answer questions which is very, it is impossible to be answered. For example, impossible to be answered. For example, you know the fact that all people will die, right? And then you want to study this something to make sure that people won't die, right? To live forever, 200 years. Definitely, it is not what we call significant anyway. Right. Innovative, it must be innovative. You use the technology, you use the whatever things that is timely and relevant. Clear and precise is very important for you to be very clear, right? You have to be clear in your writing. As I said just now, writing is an art, right? Even though you come from the science students, writing is still an art, right? It is, of course, it is fun to do research or to do experiment, right? To collect data is fun, to meet people and then to collect all those data to know the answer. But to put them in writing, right? And then you have to find another motivation, like I want to share this, I have to share this. You have to find another motivation to make your writing clear and precise, right? And then it must be feasible to be answered. Of course, for example, you want to find an coronavirus, what do we call, corona antivirus, right? Of course, now it has been found. But if you want to put that as your PhD study, it is so risky. It is not feasible. Why? Because we do not know whether we can find it. Someone else might pick up the idea. All right. So it is not feasible for the PhD study. It might take you years, for example, to complete that. So the feasibility is very important. Feasibility is not only in terms of the, what do we call, topic itself, but also it based on the resources that you have, the time that you have, the money, the resources in terms of time, money, the people, the manpower, right? How difficult it is to be conducted, right? Definitely, we know that when you are doing PhD, you are all alone, right? I mean, when you are the researcher, you can be in the research team and you can pay so many people working in that team. This is not the same like doing PhD, right? So physical is very important. All right. Okay, I'm going to give you some tips. This one I just created myself. It might not be applicable, but I think this is the tips that I use, and sometimes I share with my students. So because today I am presenting to you, I would love to share it with you. All right. First of all, I wanted to say that I will answer the question later. Let me just give you the tips, and then if I have times, I will answer all this question. It is lonely journey. Definitely, writing is a lonely journey. This picture, actually, my old picture, that was my PhD few years ago, right? I think in 2010, this one, or 2008, I can't remember. All right. This is the things that I fill up. So this is the what do we call process flow, right? And then the university that I enrolled last time gave this to me. Why I show this to you? Because I want to bring the relevance. So I have to assume that I'm also a PhD student, so that to make it relevant to you. All right. Then you are studying in UMT now. Rule number 1, right? Start at day 1. When to write a proposal, start at day 1 when you decided to continue your study, right? You have to write. This is how it looks like. You have to visualize the degree. This diagram that I show to you, the diagram that I use, just now I showed to you that I put some scribbles on this diagram. So your space, because today that at my stage, I know you have lots of questions that might not be relevant to my area of today's presentation, but then it might be related to lots of lecturers. I think about 8 lecturers are presenting in these 2 days, right? Early phases, you are here. Early phase, all right? Developing your topic here until you submit your research proposal. So 1 month, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So or up to here, right? 12 months, right? So first few years, and then in the second year, you the mid phase, and then you the final phase, right? So today I am just talking about this, right? Research proposal, right? So you are at here developing your topic. All right. This is I got from, of course, my ex-university, University of Auckland. Model for doctoral research and writing process. You see, of course, I know that I will have lots of questions because you are at the proposal stage. Definitely, at the proposal stage, you have lots of questions to be answered. And even with my PhD students, during the proposal stage, I will make lots of meetings. Why these meetings? Because to help you answering lots of questions, right? After they defend and then pass the proposal, and then I will reduce the number of meetings. But it depends on your style of your supervisors lah, right? Okay, so at this stage, you have lots of uncertainties. I can see from lots of questions, you are at the very beginning of the stage. That's why I can judge from the questions, right? Anyway, I will address the question at the time after this. Okay, you have lots of uncertainties, maximum uncertainties. Of course, you will ask whether I can finish this study, all right, whether this can be possible to be completed, whether you pass the proposal, right, at this stage 3, right, whether you pass this. You have lots of uncertainties. Keep doing it, right? You don't worry, you just keep doing it, keep discussing with your supervisors. Only at the end of the day, after you submit or you presented the viva, right, the PhD thesis, that day only the uncertainty is at minimum level, but it's still there. You see, even after you submit your PhD, you get a PhD, right? You are being a doctor, call yourself a doctor. There are still lots of things about this world that have not yet been studied, right? And I say to you, it's just a PhD, right? It is not the end of the world. That means, you what do we call, you do this, and then it is just a process for you. All right. Allocate time to write. That's tips number 2. So tips number 1 just now, as I said to you, you begin today. Tips number 2, allocate time to write. You have to write. Be a schedule writer. Right? How to help you do this? Like my case, I put a journal. This is the book that I really love on writing well. This one on writing well, William Zinzer, right? William Zinzer has come up with lots of ideas on style, on how you express your writing, on what you do, your style, your tone. Like now I am speaking to you. I have my tone. I have my voice. Writing also has tone, has voice, has styles, right? And then you read those. And then you can see, as I said to you just now, the writing style is different from one author to another. When the author speak in writing, right, it is like speaking, like I'm speaking now. You can feel them talking to your heart. I mean, that's a very good writing, right? Read this book. It's a very good writing, right? And definitely it's different style. If you are writing, if you read scientist writing something, or a social scientist write, normally social scientist has a style that, approaching you feel so close to the writer when you are reading that script, right? Schedule. You have to schedule your time to write. Do not something else as your schedule. Just write. All right. How many hours per week? It depends on you. You have to put, for example, you have to put like, okay, from 8 to 9 every morning, I want to write. Right? Not 8 to 9, 8 to 10, for example. I want to write whatever you want. Just write. Right? That's rule number 2. This book is very important. Let me just give you rules number 3. Right? Keep a journal. Right? Put a journal. This is the journal. Last time when what was that? Oh, 2011. I still keep that until now. When I opened this, I was like, wow, this journal really talks. Sometimes I just express when I quarrel and when I argue with my supervisors. When supervisors did not agree with me, I also keep in the journals, right? It forced me to keep writing. I wrote almost everything that kept me back on track. Ideas. Sometimes I write feelings, my feelings. I mean, sad. I feel angry. I feel sad. I also wrote in those journals. That nowadays people wrote in the Facebook. Last time there was already Facebook. But I didn't know express in my Facebook. Why I don't statement is very important. Research gap is just you talk about the gap. You might not necessarily answer that particular gap, right? The problem statement, right? You give all those gaps and then you ask questions from the problem statements, all right? So research gaps from the reading of the literature review. Problem statements is the problems that you want to solve. Then you ask questions regarding that problem. Hope that answered the question. Madam, can you tell us tips how to arrange the schedule, like when we need to, what we need to be, must be done, our proposal. Can you tell us flow from semester 1 to semester 6? I think just now I have shown to you the flow, right? Arrange the schedule. Let me just go back. Sorry. Yeah. This one is semester 1 to semester 6, right? This is the flow, right? So what you need to do is that you have to put your priority in writing, right? You put it, of course, your supervisors want you to have a plan, right? Semester 1, what you want to do, semester 2, right? And then you can, what do we call, put those, you can put what you want to do first. I put a priority, okay? Put a priority of what you want to do first. Definitely the priority, I think you have to work backward. For example, here, you put here, prepare for oral examination, right? You plan to do this, for example, by 30th of December 2022, right? So you put here, 30th of December 2022, that's the date, all right? So then you work backward. If you want to achieve today, right? Today is 30th of December 2020. So 2 years from now, you want to be here. So today, I mean, imagine it is today, right? So 2 years from now, of which today, 2 years from now, you imagine that you are in the what do we call, meeting room, trying to defending your proposal. Not proposal, your thesis. And then you put this backward. Then you start to put, this is what date and this is what date, you know. And then you speak to your supervisors, right? Whether this is possible. And this is what I did with my students too. I asked them to put priorities and to put the date. And of course, you have to juggle around with so many things, right? For example, if you have kids, if you are female, for example, you're a woman, a lady, right? You have kids. You have to take care of your kids. You have to take care of your husband. You have house chores to do. You have lots of things to do. Put a priority, right? And then say, for example, you just want to study at least 5 hours per day. So 5 hours per day, you design what you want to do 5 hours, from what to what. Do it just like you go to school, right? From 5 hours, from what time to what time that you are free from your, from your kids and etc. I mean, that's what I did too. Last time when I studied, I had to take care of 2 kids and I was alone. My husband was not there, right? It was overseas. It is not Malaysia. I do not have my parents and everything. But the thing is that you have to really focus and you have to schedule everything. This is another question. It is possible to find the gap by looking at the country. For example, if Malaysia never did the research in Iraq, okay, yeah, you can. However, by looking at the country, you mean that research setting, right? Research setting can be also the gap, but you have to be very careful that if you are PhD student, your supervisors might not allow you to just replicate the research and carry the same research. I mean, you use the same things, exactly the same thing, same models, same conceptual framework, same variables, right? It's just that you want to study in Malaysia. Prior studies done in the UK. You want to we call it repeat, right? You want to repeat the study, but you want to do it in Malaysia. If you are doing PhD, I don't think your supervisors will allow you. Even the committee wouldn't allow you to do that. That's a replication. It's not allowed. But I think if you are doing a master's, right, you might be allowed to do so. Right? Could you tell us about using the financial ratio? It is necessary to mention the justification to use specific ratio rather than, yeah, definitely. You have to justify. In your proposal, you really have to justify whatever you want to do and why you want to do that. For example, let us talk about the profitability, right? The prior study used what? To measure profitability, the prior study used the net profit over, for example, net profit over sales, right? Or net profit over investment, net profit over assets, right? Suddenly you want to use something else, then you have to justify why, and then you have to also refer to the prior research who also use the same ratio that you are suggesting. What is the difference between relationship and differential study, madam? I don't understand the question. I'm sorry. I do not know. I don't know because I don't understand the question. Relationship and differential, I don't know. All right. So I think that's all. I hope that if you still have questions, you can ask the next lecturers. I'm afraid that I'm talking times of the other lecturers. So that's all for me. Fitri, I think I pass it to you. Are you going to pass it to Dr. Madiha? I think after me is Dr. Madiha.
Okay, no, actually, we have divided into the two rooms. So for hard social science is for Dr. Saiti, and of social science is Dr. Madiha. We already divided to the two groups. So, sorry?
You mean that it is not from 8:30 to 9:30 is mine, and then 9:30 to 10:30 is Dr. Madiha. It's not like that.
Yeah, it's not like that. We already divided two rooms.
I'm sorry about that. But we have so many students, 118. I thought that 118, yeah. And how about Dr. Madiha session? They have
as I seen before, the participants, total participants is 65.
Oh, I see.
65 participants.
All right. So, actually, I was preparing for just 1 hour session. But anyway, so let's do a question and answer. If you can ask any question, Dr. Shah, long time not see you. Oh, who is this? Zahra. Okay, it is necessary to explain all variables mentioned in background. Another time in literature review to write the hypothesis is best. What I must repeat from the background. Okay, in the background about the variables, right? The variables should be mentioned in the research methodology, right? It should be mentioned in the research methodology, and that's about the variables. In the background, I don't think that it is what do we call it is required for you to present the variables in the background. All right. However, if say for example, your study is about introducing a new variable, that is the gap that you want to fulfill. Say for example, right, let me just talk about the introducing a new variable which is so innovative. All right, I take one example. A study of religiosity. Religiosity, all right, religiosity, how religious a person is, right? And then you want to study whether that religiosity has any relationship with budget slack. All right, so you know that budget slack has been studied in many research before, right? And then you use the variables, the same variables of the budget slats. All right. So you have no issues in relation in terms of the measuring the budget slats. You don't need to mention again in the background. However, now you are introducing a new variables, which is religiosity. You see, of course, there are some, other researchers have used the word religiosity. You have to put in your background the terms religiosity that you use. Religious, you mean how religious a person, whether that religiosity can influence the slide. Oh, you want to study something new. And then you say how it becomes a gap. For example, Mr. So and so has studied religiosity from the Christian's point of view, and they say religiosity been mentioned, but how many times the person go to the church every Sunday, right? And then Mr. X, for example, has studied religiosity by looking at whether the person went to perform Salat Jumaat, whether the person, for example, fasting during Ramadan, and that's from the perspective of the Muslims. And then you want to introduce a new variables, completely new, therefore you have to put in your background. All right. I want to go back to the question that I have not really addressed just now because I thought that I did not have enough time. If we don't have enough literature resources and we want to depend on one resource to explain the dimensions of the independent variable, is this possible? I don't think it is possible. Why? Because it is very unlikely. It is very unlikely you only have one resource. Can you tell me what is it that you are studying, Aisha? If you don't have enough literature resources and we want to depend only one resource to explain dimensions of the independent variables. I know you want to talk about how you measure the construct, right? You only use one. I don't think it is possible. You really have to come up with where it comes from. At least, for example, I think my students did this before. During what stage that the examiner and even the committee did not agree with only one ways of measuring. It is not possible. You really have to find more. Find more, go and read. Go and speak to the lecturers of the same discipline, right? And then keep looking. As I said to you, it will bring you close to the creator, right? Creator of the universe. Whoever create the knowledge, right? So it must be the creator of the knowledge. Something wrong with the voice, or I thought that is voice. It's not about voice in writing, right? Writing has voice. Okay, writing has its own voice. For example, we can find that some students are very shy in writing. I teach you just now to be bold, right? You have to be very bold in writing. Bold means that if you have a very good idea, bring it up front, right? Bring it up front. Tell the audience, tell the examiners, right? Tell the readers to agree with your idea, convince them to agree with your idea. So be bold on the idea. So that's voice in the writing, not voice in the WEBEX meeting, right? So you listen to my voice and you cannot really listen to me very well. All right. I said, Professor say black, I also say black white. I do not know. Sometimes it's not black and white because in the between black and white is gray, right? Sometimes you do not know whether it's really black or white because in the middle of black and white is gray, and then this is the time when you have to make a decision. All right. So I think that's all. Which one? Just now I think okay. I think I brought forward one of the students' question just now. Okay. I think the question is software. Could you... Oh, banyak lagi nih. There are so many questions later. I'm studying ISO standard. Okay. May use snowball technique to look for... Yeah, I agree. Use snowball techniques. Yes. It is important to determine the methodology, qualitative or quantitative, or can we do after developing research question? You have to decide when you write the research proposal. Okay. When you want to do the research proposal about qualitative and quantitative, okay? When you want to do the research proposal, you will have a research question, right? So you will have a question that you want to answer and the research objective. And then you will have the research methodology. Everything should be intact. Intact means that the question should relate to the objectives, and the methodology should explain how you want to achieve all those objectives and whether it can answer the research question. Right? Then it is intact. If it is not intact, that means, say, for example, you want to do something else, and in your methodology, you did not mention how you want to achieve that, right? So you won't, I don't think that that kind of proposal will pass, right? A proposal that can be passed, right, is a proposal that, what do we call, have everything intact, everything, what do we call, synchronized, right? Not only synchronized, but when you, it can be judged from even the title. I mentioned to you just now the title, right? So you have the title. In fact, the title already mentioned the whole thing, right? Whether the qualitative or quantitative can already be determined or can already be reflected in the title, right? So it's very important. Whether it is qualitative and quantitative is very important. Why? Because it is in the, what do we call, research methodology, and research methodology should be in the research proposal. All right. Yeah, so you should, we can do after developing research question. Yeah, of course you do after developing research question. You develop your research question first. You be creative first. You are going to solve the world's problems. You're going to, at first, when the PhD students want to do a PhD, or postgraduate students want to do a research, as if that they wanted to be a superhero, you see. And then that's why I say the uncertainty is very huge at the first few years, right? At first few months, right? You think that you are so good, and you know lots of things, and you read lots of things, you want to solve the problems, you come up with a very good idea, this is the best. You are PhD students, well, so whoa, this is so good, right? Good to talk at the dinner table, right? And then that is the first few months of the proposal stage, all right? And then you started to read, you started to refine the proposal of how to do that, and then it started to shrink in terms of the, what do we call, scope, right? And then you started to be very precise and clear in relation to the time limit that you have. For example, you want to solve the world problem, right? The first day when you say you want to do a PhD, PhD student, I am going to be a doctor, right? and then you started to develop and then redesign again and again after your supervisor says all those things, and then it start to shrink and then be more precise. As I say, if you like, it is like what do we call, triangle, and then the tips will be the gist that you want to do. So it should be very clear and precise. The clearer it is, the better it will be. Actually, in writing, less is more. Less is more, right? All right, I think that's all. Otherwise, if you have more question, you can ask me, you can write to me, right? So I think, yeah, you request to commission, return to duty. All right. Oh, there are other questions. So many questions that I didn't even see here. Faiza Muhammad Khalid. Salam Dr. Shariti, I have two questions. One, is it possible to use SLR to find gaps? If we decide to use case study of one company, is it acceptable to adapt some measures from previous literatures that was used in other industry in our data collection? Faiza Muhammad Khalid, the name is so familiar. Anyway, you are doing case study? Is this PhD? I don't think it's a PhD, right? Is this a PhD? If we decide to use case study or one company, or maybe you do qualitative, right? Yeah, it is possible. It can be a PhD. If it is possible, it is acceptable to adapt some measures from previous literature. Yes, it is. If you use case study, the way you mention it looks like you are doing qualitative research. I think you are doing qualitative research. It is possible, but the way you want to do that is that you have to really refer to the previous literature on the same ways or same methodology that you're using. All right. Okay, so I think that's all. I don't think that I have. Yeah, I wish you all the best. As I said to you, the tips that I gave to you, the journey will bring you. It is a lonely journey. The journey will bring you closer to God, to the Creator. And I said to you already that lots of things happen during PhD, and I still remember my students. I used to see him crying in front of me, and you see, and it is not easy. Definitely, it is not easy. And after you get that PhD, you will find that after you get your masters, if you're doing masters, you find that it is worthwhile. Make it worthwhile, because you have a choice of to make it worthwhile or not. As I said to you, enjoy the process. Don't tense up. I mean, don't get stressed, because it is just PhD. It is not the end of the world. Enjoy the process. All right. So I think that's all. I think I shall stop here. All right. So thank you very much for listening. You can write to me if you want to ask more questions. My area is just in the accounting, and my area is in the sustainability reporting, environmental accounting and reporting, and all my PhD students, one just graduated, do something on the sustainability accounting in Jordan, Dr. Jibril, and I have two more. One is the lecturers at university at UNIZA. She's studying the palm oil trees, just about the measuring the palm oil, whether the measurement is correct, right? So my study is a little bit of the combination of the, what do we call, lots of disciplines, not only accounting. Why? Because the world is so exciting. I think that there are lots of things to be researched. Study. So I wish you all the best. I wish you success, inshallah. Okay, Fitri, I give it the floor to you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Jarity. So we shall end the session now. So for the next module 2, be on 11 a.m. You may click on the room 1 on 11 a.m. On the retrieve. So for qualitative, and for qualitative room 2, this is for hard social science. So for soft social science, we'll be on